Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today is an exciting and important day, one of the most of the year every year, because today is the day that the German jury has let us know what the Spiel des Jahres nominees are. Now this is an award that essentially is German Game of the Year. It typically is sort of like family level, family game style, and it is the biggest and best award in board gaming because it reaches all over the globe. The winner of this award will go on to sell hundreds of thousands of copies just because they have that logo on there. It is a big deal. They also announced a kids version of sort of the Spiel des Jahres, I think the Kennerspiel I think it's called, and they do the Kennerspiel, which essentially is like the sort of gamer enthusiasts, so the gamer connoisseurs. So they nominate 3 in each of these groups, and they also recommend like 5 others. Today, I'm gonna go over the nominees for the Spiel des Jahres and the Kennerspiel, and I'm also going to give you some overviews of what these games are about, and then I'm gonna give you my predictions and what I think in my heart do I want to happen for these. So here we go. All right, for the Spiel des Jahres, the first nominee I'm going to go over is called Micro Macro Crime City. This is from Pegasus Spiel. Now, I've already done a review on this late last year, so let me give you a quick 1-minute overview of how this game works. Micro Macro Crime City is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players where you get this humongous city and a big folded paper map on your table. And the city always has tons of details like a saxophone playing, or someone hiding behind the building, somebody chasing somebody with a wrench and a mask. There's always different things to look at. And you're working on one of 16 different cases from introductory all the way to difficult, and you'll have different questions you're answering from the envelopes. And you're going to be finding different things in different cases like finding the dead victim, or where the killer lurked, or where the murder weapon was, or where the victim lived. All sorts of different questions you'll be asked in different cases. And you'll be working backwards in time, like this baby's hanging out with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Tracing their footsteps, you see it was then hanging out with a dog earlier. And a little earlier, he was giving a sausage to a homeless man. And giving a balloon to someone in the park. So there might be questions about what did the baby do? How did it get home? Did it get home? Things like that. There's always something unique to look at, and curiosity is the name of this game. I can't tell you how happy I am to see this game nominated because last year when I reviewed this, I was probably one of the first to review this game, and I said that it made my top 10 of the year. It was very high in my top 10 of the year. It made my most it was my most innovative game of the year at the end of the year. And come to find out, recently, Board Game Geek also had their Golden Geek Awards, and it won Most Innovative Game there as well. So it's great to see sort of the community backing up what I had, also said about this game really early on, because I knew that this game was special from the minute that I had played this game, and I just love it so much. So I'm really happy to see this thing nominated. It is a fantastic game. It's like nothing else I've ever played. It's like a deduction crime game, along with sort of like Where's Waldo, trying to figure out where things are. This game is so amazing. I am so glad it's on this list. And if you want to see my full review for this, I'll put the link in the description of this video where I show you even more. I don't spoil anything, actually. I actually show you stories that don't have anything to do with anything. And then you can hear me gush over this game even more. But this game is amazing. Okay, the next one is Zombie Teens Evolution. This is from Scorpion Masqué. This is a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players. It takes 15 to 25 minutes to play. It's for ages 8 and up. And in this game, zombies are attacking the entire town. Now, this is cooperative. You'll be cooperating with your friends and launch an expedition to drive off the overwhelming zombie hordes. Now, essentially, you're going to be trying to collect the 4 ingredients and brew the antidote that will save the world. Now, this is a sequel to Zombie Kids Evolution, which is the #1 game on Board Game Geek. Now, this game sort of evolves over plays. You'll be opening up to 14 different mystery envelopes. So it's sort of like a legacy game, if you will, as over time you're going to be opening up different things, seeing new event cards, seeing new things. This is a very light game. It's it's for kids and families, and you're gonna be rolling dice and maybe doing an event or maybe moving zombies around. And if they get to their colored building, they're gonna be overrunning it and then jumping on a trampoline to other buildings. And you're basically trying to stop them from overrunning all the buildings, and you're trying to work together to bring all the food crates back to the school. And so you're basically moving around, you're attacking the zombies, you're taking them off the board, and you're trying to transfer food crates by passing them to player. So it truly is a cooperative game. So that's pretty much for the second one here, Zombie Teens Evolution. Okay, the last of the three is The Adventures of Robin Hood. This is from Cosmos, another cooperative game. This is for 2 to 4 players. It takes 60 minutes to play for ages 10 and up. Now in this, you take on the role of Robin Hood and his companions. Now, actions are going to be taking place on a living game board. So it has no set paths. It's sort of like open exploration. You'll be going around and there'll be various actions and secrets that are integrated into the game levels, and they're revealed only in the course of the storybook. So the game board, the board itself, actually also remembers what players have already explored and found thanks to the special materials in the game. And there's multiple scenarios and new mechanisms unlock throughout the scenarios. And that board is modular. Things flip, they do different things, and they change based on not only the scenarios that you're doing, but also what you've done in earlier scenarios. So you're exploring tiles on the board, you're also reading from a storybook in a sort of a choose your own adventure style where you're gonna figure out what to do, and certain things are going to happen. And you're gonna be doing little tests by pulling cubes out of a bag. You're gonna be building the bag by putting different things in there. So it seems like a very different game as well. Okay, so my first comments about this Spiel des Jahres lineup is interesting that all 3 of them are cooperative games. And that's pretty interesting. I don't think that's ever happened before. This might be the first time. And correct me if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Now, let's look at the last few winners to kind of do some commentary here. Last year, Pictures won, which actually is a game I still have not played. It won over My City and Nova Luna. Pictures was by far the lightest game there. The year before that, Just One won over Llama and Werewords. Now you could probably argue that Llama was probably as light as Just One, maybe even a little lighter, but Just One was one of the lighter ones there. Azul won over Luxor and The Mind the year before that, and one could argue that The Mind is even lighter than Azul. This is probably the least of the lightness of this one. King Domino won over Magic Maze in the Quest for El Dorado the year before that. So I say those recent histories to say that it seems like the Spiel des Jahres is getting lighter and lighter in what they're looking for. And the winners, other than maybe the Azul one, also tends to be the lightest or around the lightest of all of these. Now with that being said, I'm gonna go with my pick, which is the one I want to win. I want Micro Macro Crime City to win. Because again, this is a game that I found early. I reviewed very early in its existence and saw and recognized how amazing this game was. And now we're seeing other bodies of work also coming in saying how great this game is. It's always fun. As a reviewer, you play hundreds of games a year. And quite honestly, most of those times, I would say even the majority, you play something and you go, it was okay, it was good, it was fine. And majority of things are forgettable. It's just the way it is. And so when you get a game that you're excited about, that doesn't have a lot of buzz, nobody even heard of Micro Macro Crime City until most recently. And when you get a game that you think is going to be really cool and it lives up and it exceeds your expectations and you get all excited and you start trying to throw attention to this game because it's really cool and it's under the radar and it starts to pick up steam, there's nothing more that makes a reviewer happy than something like this. And so my heart is absolutely tied to Micro Macro Crime City. And for me, I hope that is going to be the one that wins it. Now, from my head and thinking about the award itself, Micro Macro is a game that's great solo, but it's also great with just a few players. It's not as good with more and more players. Where, it seems like I should say that I have not played either of the other two. And this is interesting because normally in the Spiel des Jahres, usually there's like 2 games that I've played and heard about and know really well, and usually there's like one very obscure title that's only out in Germany and nobody else has really played it. And in this case, The Adventures of Robin Hood is only out in Germany. Like I don't even think there's an English copy made yet. I think they're in the middle of translation or whatever. But so no one's, around the world is going to have played that one. Zombie Teens, many people have played that. I just haven't played it. Now, with that being said, I don't know. It's not often that I think the jury is going to pick what my brain is going to pick, but I think the jury is also going to pick one just because it is so different. Since they're all cooperative games, it's not like you can say, well, they like cooperative and they, more than other things, or they don't like cooperative as much. They're all cooperative. They're all in an even staying power. But I think this one is just so unique and it's just so original and it's like nothing else we've ever seen. I mean, we've seen plenty of legacy games. We've seen plenty of cooperative games. We've seen plenty of kid games where you go around working together. We've seen plenty of scenario-based games now. We've seen plenty of open world, moving around types of things. We've never seen anything like Micro Macro, and that's the reason why not only do I hope it wins, in this year I actually think it's going to win, and that doesn't often happen, which we're about to find out in my predictions for the next one. So let's get to that. Now for the Kennerspiel, which is sort of the gamer enthusiasts or the gamers games, the first one I'm going to talk about is The Lost Ruins of Arnak from its CGE, Chex Game Edition. I've already reviewed this one, so let me give you a quick 1-minute overview of how this one works. Lost Ruins of Arnak is an exploration game for 1 to 4 players where you'll be going off and digging at different places, gathering resources. You'll also be exploring new areas which will give you even better options, but they're always going to be guarded by guardians that you'll need to take out, or else you'll gain some fear, which is bad. But taking them out can gain you points at the end. You'll be spending resources to do some research, getting you points at the end, but also some bonuses like assistance, which will give you all sorts of different abilities that you can use each turn. And if you research far enough, you'll get tons of points, but also still be able to research those ruins even more for more points. You'll also be purchasing items that will give you points at the end, but also cool abilities, and you'll usually get to use these cards right on your next turn. You'll also be purchasing even more powerful cards, which are the artifacts which give you really powerful abilities to do throughout the game, and you get to use them right away. And on your turn, you'll be selecting cards to use for travel or its abilities, and it's a very interesting twist on deck building. Yeah, this game, again, this was one of the ones that I was right on the front edge of on late last year, November-ish or whatever I did the review. This is that game, with that deck building and area control, deck building and worker placement, and it's just, this game did things in such original, unique ways, blending those two things together. I don't even like deck building games much, but this thing just used that as an element in such a unique way of being able to get cards quicker than you normally would, build your engine quicker. This game was absolutely amazing. I mean, it made my top 10 of the year for sure last year. So I absolutely love this game, and I'm really happy to see it made the list. In fact, if it didn't make the list, assuming it was out in Germany in the time and it fit all the criteria to possibly be nominated, if this one was not nominated, I'm sure myself and many others would be aiming at the jury being like, are you serious? This is one of the best gamer games that have come out in years. Why isn't it on this list? So I'm really happy it's on this list. The next one is Fantasy Realms. This is a 3 to 6 player game, takes 20 minutes to play, and it's ages 14 and up. Now you're a ruler trying to build the mightiest realm in the world, and it's a combo building card game. Now it was very popular and so influential, so much so that the recent Stonemaier games, Red Rising, gave a nod to Fantasy Realms as sort of its inspiration for the mechanisms of the game, along with, of course, the Red Rising books. But this game has quick turns. You're basically drawing a card and discarding a card. You're comboing cards together. It's basically the name of the game. Now, this one originally came out in 2017 by WizKids, but it just came out in Germany by Strawman Games. So I don't ever remember seeing this before, where a game has come out like around the world, and then this many years later finally comes out in Germany, and then it gets nominated. When I saw this on the list, I was like, is this a misprint? Like, what is going on? And after more research, I'm like, oh, it just came out in Germany this year, so now it's on the list. Very interesting. I don't think I've seen this happen before. And this is probably one of the lighter games I've seen as a Kennerspiel nominee, because, I mean, it's quick, 20 minutes, it's easy, draw a card, play a card. This is very light for that award. More in comments later, but that gives you an idea of what Fantasy Realms is. The next one is Paleo. Now this is a cooperative game. It's 1 to 4 players. It takes 45 to 60 minutes to play. It's for ages 10 and up. This is, in this cooperative adventure, it's basically set in the Stone Age. And it's a game in which you're trying to keep the human beings in their care. You're basically alive. You're trying to complete missions. And sometimes you need fur, sometimes you need a tent. But they're all sort of minor quests compared to your long-term goal, which is painting a woolly mammoth on the wall so that humans thousands of years ago will know that you once existed. Now, typically you're like, in the game, you're going to locations, and going there, these cards have like a really cool back where like, you know where you're going and you have an idea of what's going to be there. But when you flip the card over, most likely it's going to have what you think it does, but sometimes it's going to have what you don't think is there. So you're never quite sure. That's probably the best aspect of this game. You need to feed your people, and you need to try to craft skills to complete quests. Now I have played this one. I haven't reviewed it, but I have played it. And this game is great production, great table presence, multiple different scenarios that you can play that get harder and harder and harder, so you're not just playing the same thing. But for me, this game was okay. It was just average for me. It wasn't one that really stood out. Although I have talked to a few fellow reviewers that loved this game much more than me. But I just found this to be okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't over the top. I just was like, okay, it's fine. Okay, what's next? We've seen scenario-based things. I'd say the best thing about this was that aspect, that mechanism of flipping the card over, and you kind of can know it's there, but you never really know. The cooperative of helping each other and the different scenarios helps to keep things fresh. But in the end, this one didn't really hit it for me. So let's talk about my sort of commentary and my thoughts on the Kennerspiel. Now, one of the games for me that was a glaring miss here that was not on the list was Whistle Mountain from Bezier Games. This was my strategy game of the year last year. I've played it with players that loved sort of the heavier games, and everyone that I've played this with absolutely loves it. And it really, in my opinion, I thought for sure I was going to see this alongside Lost Ruins of Arnak here, but it's not on the list. But after researching a little further, I realized that it did not come out in Germany. And so that's one of the sort of caveats is you have to be out in Germany by a certain time to be able to be possibly considered for this. So I was about to go a little crazy here and yell that it's not on the list, but then I realized, well, technically it can't be on the list. So maybe, just like the other one earlier, like Fantasy Realms, maybe Whistle Mountain will get released in Germany in a future year. And then it will finally get nominated for the Kennerspiel. And if you're curious about that, I've done a review for that one as well. You could check that link below. So over the past years, let's take a look at what's recently happened in the Kennerspiel. The Crew, that amazing cooperative trick-taking game last year, won over Cartographers in King's Dilemma. And one could say that The Crew is probably the lightest game there, maybe. The year after that, Wingspan, the year before that, Wingspan won over Carpe Diem and Detective, a Modern Crime board game. The year before that, Quacks of Quedlinburg won over That's Pretty Clever and Heaven and Ale. The year before that, the Exit series, the sort of the Cosmos line of escape rooms, won over Raiders of the North and Terraforming Mars. That one was probably the most shocking. And the year before that, the Isle of Skye won over Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories. Now, there is a definite trend with those. In every single one of those, there's been plenty of heavy games there, or heavier games there. And the award has never, in these recent years, hasn't gone to the heaviest game in recent years. You look at those things, Pandemic Legacy, the Raiders of the North, Terraforming Mars, things like that. Like, those didn't win over certain things. And for me, personally, from these three, I've played all three of them, and I personally like the Lost Ruins of Arnak the best, by far. Like, in my heart, I think that game should win. I've played Fantasy Realms. I think it's good. I think it's a fun little quick game with great combos and things like that. But for me, it didn't have like that X factor. It wasn't an award-winning, the best gamers game that came out last year, at least in Germany. Like, it was good. I could see possibly why it's in this category, but I don't think it's quite at that level as that. And Paleo, I already mentioned, I thought was just okay. So for my heart, I think by far, not even close, Lost Ruins of Arnak is by far the best game here, in my opinion, objectively. But what will I think the jury would do? They've never picked the heaviest game. So recent history says, even though Lost Ruins of Arnak, in my opinion, is the best game, it's not going to win because they typically have not given this to the heaviest game, even when that heaviest game is as amazing as Pandemic Season 1 and Terraforming Mars. Are you kidding? So if I go off of those past recent history, I've got to say Lost Arnak isn't going to win. And in this case, I'm probably going to say Fantasy Realms is going to win. So if I'm picking with my head, I'm going to say Fantasy Realms is going to win. But if I'm picking with my heart, I'm going to say Lost Ruins of Arnak is going to win. So I hope this has helped you sort of get some games on the radar that maybe you hadn't heard of that are award possibly nominated to win some of the biggest awards in board gaming. And I hope you've been able to learn more about those. And since I've done videos on Micro Macro Crime City and Lost Ruins of Arnak, you can look at the links below and see the full reviews of those. So I hope this has helped you out. We'll see what happens. I'll try to do a follow-up video after the Spiel des Jahres is announced later this summer. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games by helping you find the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing thematic premium stitched edge mats, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it is a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Get in on the goodness of Game Toppers 3.0 on Kickstarter now, click the link below, or go to GameToppersLLC.com. The Kennerspiel, this is the sort of gamer connoisseurs, or the experienced gamers game, and the next one is Paleo. This is a